Hello and welcome to our EDS morning routine. So I would suggest that you watch this video first and then try out some of the moves. And then when you're ready, then you can try the full sitting or standing routine. And you can always use your own music if you prefer to do that. I'd also recommend that you go at your own speed. So even if you're following the entire program, morning routine, you can do 2 moves, 4 moves, 6 moves. Go at your own speed and work within your own limits and boundaries. It's not a question of having to complete the whole routine. What I would suggest, though, is that if you don't think you're going to be able to do all of the moves, but you want to do some of them, it's better to do a bigger variety of moves and fewer of them than try and do lots and lots of moves of one type and then run out of stamina before you get on to some of the others, because this will ensure that you get a good workout throughout the whole body. So the first move that is in the routine is just called rising and falling with the breath. And this is particularly useful because a lot of people with chronic conditions have waking anxiety. And what that means is that when we wake up, we're already anxious. Now, you might not be aware of this because what happens is we get used to a certain level of anxiety in the body. And so we wake up already having this high level of anxiety. And the reason it's there is because when we have a chronic illness, as we're waking up, the brain is already leaping forward to all the things that might go wrong in the day. And we get so used to this that we're not even aware of it happening. But this creates anxiety. So, one of the things we want to do is learn how to wake up gently and soothe the body before we even get into thinking about how we're going to get out of bed, how we may or may not be able to get dressed, whether or not we're going to be able to do our morning routine. So, you can do this first exercise still in bed. If you're able to, come into a sitting or standing position, and I'll just demonstrate this now. So all we do is we start in our Wu Chi posture if we're standing, which is soft knees, pelvis just tucked under a little bit. You can wear knee braces for all of these exercises if you want to. And just as we're breathing in, we just bring the hands up. And as we're breathing out, we just let the hands come down. We lead with the elbows, the hands follow. They come up to about eye height. And then as we breathe out, they just come down to about around the pelvis, around the lower abdomen. And that's all we do for move 1. So the next 3 moves are all to help us relocate parts of the body that have dislocated during the night. So one of the problems with EDS is that we rely on our muscles to keep our joints in place because obviously our ligaments and tendons aren't doing what they should be. And that's fine if we've got strong muscles, and doing these exercises certainly does build muscle strength and balance. That's one of the reasons that they're really particularly helpful for people with EDS. But of course, when we're asleep, our muscles do what they're supposed to do, which is to relax and to lose the tension. And of course, what this means is that because our ligaments and tendons aren't doing what they should be doing, we dislocate. So that's why we often wake up with joints out of place. So the first 3 moves are particularly focusing on the shoulders and the arms, and they just help us to relocate gently anything that might be slightly displaced when we wake up. So the first move is called opening out. And we're literally just going to bring the arms up to chest height. And as we breathe in, we just open the arms out to wherever is comfortable. And then as we breathe out, we just bend the knees very slightly, bring the hands together and down. Breathing in, opening out the chest. This is a great stretch for the chest, and out. And that's the first move. So the next move in our relocation section is called unhooking. And again, this helps us to relocate. So as we're breathing in, we just bend the knees very slightly. We interlace the fingers together. And as we continue to breathe in, we bring the hands up to chest height and up to eye height. When we get to level with the eyes, we turn the hands out so that the palms are facing away from us. We follow the hands up to the ceiling and then we look away and we unhook and we bring the hands gently all the way back down. So once more, breathing in, unhook, breathe out and let go. And this is particularly useful for shoulders. It also gives us the opportunity to have a good yawn and stretch, but always remember that we need to stretch within our own limits. And it can take quite a lot of practice to actually be able to bring the arms all the way up above the head and then to unlock. So just come up as far as is comfortable for you. And then our next move is called reaching from heaven to earth. And again, this is a good stretch. And we literally, just as we breathe in, we bring the left arm up so the palm is facing the sky and the right hand is facing the earth. We breathe out as the hands come back together. They cross in front of the body and we stretch in the other direction. So just go through that again, breathing in and out and in and out. And this gives us this really good cross-body stretch, which is not only really excellent for stretching, but it's also really good for connecting back together the communication between the different parts of the body. Another thing that happens with EDS, as I'm sure you know, is that parts of the body stop communicating with other parts of the body, and this is due to all sorts of complications, especially with hypermobile type EDS. So by doing this, we're helping that cross communication going on with the body. And by linking the breath with the movements, we're giving ourselves a really good breath practice, which is great for calming and soothing the nervous system. So that's helping with our waking anxiety. And we're also starting to stretch the muscles in the arms, the fingers, the hands, the shoulders, the chest. And we're starting to really stretch the torso now as well. So we're just expanding the stretches that we've started with. So the next three moves are particularly helpful for the back and the neck. So we're just going to wake these parts of the body up gently. So we're going to start with a move that's called scooping up the C. And we take a small step with the left foot and put that at a 45-degree angle. So my feet are quite close together. And then as we breathe in, we bring the hands down towards the floor, as far down as you feel comfortable. And then as we breathe out, we come up and we simply open the arms up. Now, this is a great one for moving the lower part of the back and building up strength and stamina here. But it is important that we remember that we're not leaning too far. We don't want to lean forward like that because that's actually going to cause strain on the lower back. So when we come to the other side, remembering that what we want to be doing is coming down the body, not going too far forward. So breathing in, bending the knee so that you can come down a little bit further. Coming up and breathing out. And that's called scooping up the sea. And some people call it scooping up the sea and looking at the sky. And then we come on to one which is one of my favourites actually, and I do this several times a day. And this is called swinging arms. And you'll see this in lots of Qigong practices. And quite simply, we get into a nice grounded stance. So feet about hip width apart, knees slightly bent, coming down so that the weight of the body is coming down into the ground and just feeling that nice sort of solidity, that nice solidness. And then we just start to twist from the waist. And this is from the waist. So I'm not moving my hips at all. My hips are staying facing forwards. I'm just moving from the waist and I'm just letting my arms swing. And you can let your arms swing as much as you want to and is comfortable for you. And what this actually does is it helps to relocate all the different parts of the spine. And it also really strengthens the muscles that are going to be keeping the spine in place. because one of the things that helps the spine stay where it should do when we've got Ehlers-Danlos is having really nice, strong back muscles. So by moving from the waist upwards, we're exercising these back muscles, and we're just giving the spine a nice stretch. And I find, because I have three unstable vertebrae in my back, and they quite often slip out, and obviously that can be very concerning and result in a trip to A&E as an emergency. So what I find is, as soon as I start to feel that that's happening, if I do this exercise, it helps them to relocate and go back into place. And that's a really, really helpful exercise for me. But of course, always practice these exercises carefully to begin with, and just work out what is working for you and where your boundaries are. And then the next exercise that we come on to is called the wise owl. And again, I love this exercise. And this gives us a really good stretch down the whole of the neck and the shoulders and the arms. So we start by breathing in and just bending the knees a little. And as we breathe out, we take the arms out to the sides of the body, palms facing as far up towards the ceiling as we can, and we look over the left shoulder. So we're not twisting the body. My body is still facing forwards. I'm just moving my head to look just over my left shoulder, not behind me, just over. Breathing out, come back to center. Breathing in, just look over my right shoulder. Breathing out. So that's the wise owl. So the next three movements are really to help us with our strength and mobility. And this is where we really want to think about our stance. So I've already mentioned a couple of tips for you. We want to make sure that our feet are a comfortable distance apart. So we usually start with them just a little bit wider than hip width. But if you need more stability, take a wider stance. And if you've been advised by your physio that squats are good for you, they are good for a lot of us with EDS, because they really help to build up the glutes. And the glutes are a big muscle which help to support the lower back. So if you've been advised to do that, then one of the things you can do in a lot of these exercises is come down into a deeper squat, what we call a qigong squat. So that's horse riding stance. Come down into as deep a squat as you want to, as you're comfortable with, and you can do some of the moves from there. But just experiment with what works for you, because it's also very good for our balance to actually practice having our feet together. There's another practice that we do sometimes where we have our feet very close together and we sway from side to side, and that's also really good balance practice. So experiment with what works with you and always go gently. So this first one I like to do in quite a wide stance, and I come down into a deep squat, and this is because for me squatting is really helpful. And with EDS, one of the things we don't want to do is put too much strain on the knees. So if we're going to keep going up and down in squats, that's what happens. But with Qigong, Shibashi, we don't do that. We come into a squat and we stay there. And it's this resistance that actually builds the strength. So I'm sitting back into my squat, my spine is straight, my strength is coming down, my weight is coming down, and I'm literally just going to breathe in and out, and in and out. And just follow the movement of your hands as you're breathing in and out. We also know that one of the ways that Qigong helps is that as we're following the movement of the hands with our eyes, because we're not moving the body too much, we're keeping most of the body facing forwards, the eyes have to do quite a lot of movement from side to side, and that sends a soothing and comforting message to the nervous system. You might have heard of some therapies where people follow a light going from side to side. And this is why, because when we're moving the eyes in this way, it helps to soothe and calm the nervous system. So we're getting that added bonus from some of these movement practices as well. So this one, again, we can come into quite a deep squat. And in this one, we do a gentle fist with our hands. So we never want to clench the fist too tightly, especially with EDS, because that's when your knuckles can pop out. So we want a gentle fist. And as we breathe in, we bring the arms back so that my fists are just touching my waist here. Come into whatever squat you want to do. And then as you punch out, you turn, twist, open and come in, or you can just punch out and back in again. Punch out and back in again. You can also punch out, turn the fist round, back up and back in. So again, experiment with what your body needs, and it could be different on different days. And then we come to one which is favourite with a lot of people. This is called cloudy hands. And again, there are various different ways of doing this. I'm just going to show you a simple version. So we come down into a squat or a wider stance, or you can just do this in your normal, what we call Wu Chi posture. I like to, again, come into a wider stance and get that squat in because that really helps me. And then all we're going to do is place one hand over the eyes. So there's a bit of distance between my face and my hand. My other hand is just going to follow as I come round. And when I get to my left knee, I'm going to swap my hands over. I'm going to breathe in as I come round to the other side. And breathe out. So just breathe in as you go one way, out as you go the other. Don't worry too much about which way you need to breathe in and out. The most important thing is that you're just feeling this flow of movement, and all the movement is coming from the waist. So I'm just really gently moving my body from side to side, and my hands are just flowing. Another way you can do it is to hold the hands in this posture and just keep swapping them over. So again, experiment with what feels right for you. So the next three moves are all about balance and grounding. So we've done a little bit on relocating and stretching. Then we moved into building up some muscle strength. And now we want to think about balance and grounding. So we're covering all the different areas that are really important for those of us with EDS, especially hypermobile type. So balance, as we know, is something that we lose with EDS. And this is because we lose something called proprioception. And that's because as our joints gradually become injured, the messages don't travel through them to the whole body to give us that signal about where we are, what's in front of us, how big that step is, whether the pavement is wonky or not. We're not getting the messages that we should be getting. So that means we fall over a lot. And then there are all sorts of other things going on with our autonomic system and autoimmune conditions, which affect our balance as well. So one of the things that we want to really work on, and this has really helped me with using Qigong Shibashi especially, is to improve my balance. And the other thing that we want to think about is grounding. So there's a lot of science that shows that grounding ourselves is really, really important. And of course, traditionally, Tai Chi, Qigong were always taught outside, barefoot. So you're actually feeling the earth with your feet. So if we can do it outside barefoot, that's even better. But even if we're inside and we've got socks or slippers on, we can still feel grounded. What we want to do is really notice the contact between the soles of the feet and the ground, whatever's beneath us, and then think about what's further down than that, so the earth itself. So whatever we're standing on is resting itself on the earth, and we just want to feel that connection with the earth. And when we do that, something quite amazing happens in the body. Things start to change with our heart rate and our breathing and our heart rate variability. And all of these effects are really beneficial for us. So just thinking about our contact with the earth is actually very, very beneficial. So the first in this little section is called bouncing the ball, and this does take some balance. Use a chair or something to lean on to start with, and don't lift your leg too high. But we're going to start by raising the left hand as if we're bouncing a ball. And we imagine that we're passing it to the right hand. But in the middle of that, we lift our foot off the floor. So we're getting this coordination between the left and the right side of the body, which is really, really helpful for us. We're also building up strength in one leg by taking the weight off the other leg. You don't have to lift it right off the floor if that feels too much for you. Just feel the weight on the left leg and let the weight come onto the tiptoes of your right leg. So you've still got that right leg for balance. Bounce the ball and then come onto the right leg. And then we're bouncing with the right hand and lifting the left knee a little. And then if you can, just progressing to lifting the foot off the floor. So we're breathing in and out, and in and out. And like I say, do take that one slowly. Build up your balance bit by bit. Remember, we're working on tiny steps going in the right direction. We don't want to go too fast. That's often something that we do. We make that mistake. Go at your own pace, go slowly. Anything you do will be helping you to build up these strengths in your body. Because we actually know that even just watching someone else do it and imagining yourself doing it actually does change your physical structure. You can build muscle, for example, by imagining yourself doing these exercises, especially if you're watching someone else at the same time. So if this exercise feels too much for you to begin with, just watch me doing it in the video and imagine yourself doing it, and maybe just practice a little bit. Just kind of mimic what I'm doing in a sort of very gentle way. And if you're really focusing on the muscles moving, you will still be building muscle and building strength and balance. So this next one, we're just really focusing on grounding here, but also we want to feel being grounded actually helps us with our balance. So coming into whatever stand works best for you, and just making sure that your feet are level with each other. Keep checking your feet. Again, with hypermobile EDS and lack of proprioception, unless we're actually checking physically with our eyes where the body is, it's often not where we think it is. And that's how we can get out of alignment really quickly. So just keep checking where your hands and feet are. And then as you breathe in, we're just going to bring the hands up above the body. Breathing out really slowly, bringing the hands down in front of the body. And all of these exercises where we're bringing the hands up and around, they're different ways of balancing the energy in the body. They're giving us a good stretch and they're helping us to ground. And then we finish with what's called an audible sigh. So we breathe in, bring the hands up to chest height, and as we breathe out, we sigh and let the hands come down to the side. So again, breathing in and out. And the reason it's really good to do an audible sigh is because not only are you feeling it in your body, but you're hearing it with your ears. And when we hear or see someone else sighing, it sends a message to our own bodies that we're okay, we're safe. And this is because it talks to a really old primal part of the brain, which is used to getting its signals from the group around us. So if one person starts to panic, then we all panic because we assume that they've seen or heard something that's a threat. But likewise, if people around us are sighing and they're obviously calm and soothed, then we fall into that state of being as well. So breathing in and breathing out and sighing audibly is another way of really helping to calm our nervous system. And one of the reasons I talk a lot about calming down the nervous system is because the calmer and more soothed the nervous system feels, the less amount of pain we're going to experience and the better the signals can move around the body, because stress and anxiety actually cause more pain and they cause more confusion with the body's signals. So obviously that's going to cause us more difficulties. So by continually throughout the day, just soothing and calming the nervous system, we're helping to re-regulate the nervous system. And then that helps all of the processes work as well as they possibly can. Obviously, we're going to have difficulties that non-zebras don't have. But we may as well do what we can to make sure that we minimise those difficulties for us as much as possible. We certainly don't want to be adding to them. And then a really nice way to finish any sort of exercise routine is just have a bit of a shake. So shake everything, wave your hands around. Obviously, don't shake so much that you shake something and dislocate it. But shaking again is a really good way of releasing stress hormones. Hopefully, we don't have any stress hormones now we've just done this lovely Qigong practice. But we do sometimes find that doing our practice, we may dislodge something or we may notice something that we weren't aware of before. And this is good because we need that information. We need to know what's really going on so we can look after ourselves as well as we possibly can. But one of the things that if you look at an animal who's been frightened or stressed by something, after the event is finished, they'll shake. If you look at a dog who's had a near miss with a car, for example, they will shake all over. And that isn't them quivering with fear. This is them releasing any leftover adrenaline from the body. Because when something fearful happens, we produce a sudden rush of adrenaline. And then what we want to do is we need to get rid of that adrenaline. But of course, the types of things that cause us stress and anxiety, especially with heads, isn't a big tiger coming to chase us. It's more to do with, whether we've remembered to do something that we needed to do, that doctor's appointment that's coming up, that phone call that we need to make. Am I going to be able to get to the shops and back without falling over or being ill? Am I going to remember everything when I get to the shop, or am I going to make myself look like an idiot? These are all the kind of stresses that we have. Even the stress of, am I going to be able to get out of bed and get washed and dressed in time for the thing that I need to or want to do today? So we have a lot of these stresses building up in the system, and all of these cause adrenaline. So one of the ways that we can do to release that adrenaline, one of the things we can do is to shake it out, just like all other mammals will. You just shake it out of the system. And then again, we can finish with another sigh if we want to do that.